I am wondering what type my father might be. My father is clearly an introvert. He doesn't like going out. He always keeps one or two TV shows that he likes. He is not artistic. He dresses, his style, his dressing style is uncoordinated. He cannot color coordinate. He doesn't seem very emotional. He doesn't know how to show appreciation to my mother in particular. He makes fun of my mother's poor analytical skills or thinking skills some of the time. My mother sometimes cannot notice sarcasm. I think my mother is an ESFJ, so she doesn't have intuition, or I am not really sure about my mother's typing, but she needs to, it feels to me as if she desperately needs to hear words of appreciation for the chores she does at home, like cooking or cleaning the house. That's why I think she's an FE dominant type. But she is not, she is more like a victim. She cannot stand for her own. She is not aggressive. I think she doesn't, that means she doesn't have SE in her conscious functions. So she's either an ISFJ or an ESFJ, but ISFJs would have shadow SE, which would be quite strong when needed, which would come out as very strong when needed. So I don't think she is an ISFJ, but she's an ESFJ, and they cannot get along. My mother and my father cannot get along well. They are not functioning harmoniously. My father is obsessed about food. He likes eating very much, but he is not fat, and he doesn't like eating the same food 2 days in a row. If he sees the same food on the third day, he gets irritated, cranky. He starts complaining. I don't know why that is. Perhaps he has some auxiliary need. Perhaps he wants variety. He wants to see variety. Perhaps, and I think I am an INFJ, and I cannot get along with him that well either, because I also feel the lack of emotional feedback from him, FE feedback, even though I am an auxiliary FE type, and that do not need that much appreciation in relative to an FE dominant type. And when I try to discuss issues with him, usually his reasoning or his explanations I don't find them satisfactory, and that they don't make sense to me, or he keeps expanding. It seems that he keeps expanding the argument, making it dissociated. I cannot, I mean, I cannot see a focus in his argument. He doesn't like doing house chores, like repairs or stuff. So he's not skilled at crafts. I was thinking he could be an INFP, but he is not artistic either or emotional either. So I think I was wrong, and perhaps he is an INTP. He wants, he is, I feel pressured by him to accept his advices or suggestions, and I was thinking that was because he was an INFP and that was due to his inferior TE. He was giving TE suggestions through his inferior TE and was getting hurt when I did not follow his TE advices, because that's his inferior function. But perhaps it's because he is an INTP and he is giving advice through his shadow TE. But I don't understand why he keeps pressuring me to follow his advices. It feels as if he is expecting me to, what was the word? I can't remember the word starting with A. Validate. It feels as if he is expecting me to validate his suggestion. And could it be TE rather be TE? His suggestions and intellect. Does he have a need to have his suggestions and intellect validated externally? I mean, how would that work in relation to FE? An FE dominant type needs to get positive FE feedback from his or her environment. So would that mean a TE dominant type would have this need to be respected for his thinking? But I have an ENTJ friend and he doesn't get butthurt when I disagree with his suggestions or rational analysis. He just says he is true anyway, even if I disagree with him. So he doesn't get butthurt. So what does that mean if my father is really an INTP, and why does he get angry when I do not follow his advice or suggestions? Because that he makes me feel suffocated. I get the same feeling of suffocation from my mother because she is suffocating me with her iffy kind of nurturing, and I feel that she expects me to give her positive feedback all the time, and I am afraid of telling her the times that I am sad. When I am sad, I am hesitant to let her know that I am sad, because then she gets sad as well. She gets my sadness somehow not infiltrate, but somehow in fact, my sadness somehow infects her. So I fear I am hesitant to let her know when I am sad, because I feel then responsible for her feelings as well, and that burdens me. she keeps trying to take care of me, and in return wants to see me happy even when I am sad, so that forces me to act as if I am happy, and that tires me out. So I think I wonder whether my father has some kind of T function somewhere there that that makes him hungry for appreciation for his TE advices, but that would require him to be an TE dominant type. But he is not an extrovert type as far as I see, because he is not very social or charming. He just wants to talk about specific topics that he is interested in. So I think he's an introverted intuitive, but I cannot guess the rest. But he doesn't seem like a J type, because he doesn't like taking care of things around the house. He just tries to avoid problems or deny that problems exist. So my guess is he's either an INFP or INTP. INFP would make sense that in that he gets butthurt when I don't follow his advice, and he pressures me to follow his advice, which could be due to his inferior TE, which he cannot control or command very well. And that would also explain why he doesn't give positive FE feedback, even though I would expect him to use his shadow FE more frequently than this. But he doesn't appear emotional. I don't know, could it be due to him being a dominant FI, if he is really an INFP? He has good handwriting, and he criticized me for my gibberish handwriting. I don't think he is an INTP. So I think I have an INTP friend, and we can come to similar conclusions on similar issues. And that doesn't happen with my dad. So I think he's an INFP, but I wonder why he insists. He acts like an ISTJ most of the time, but a poor ISTJ, whose conclusions are not very accurate, and who doesn't like taking care of chores around house, or who doesn't stand up for his family. So that's a poor ISTJ. But he seems to have a fascination for people with high TE. I think that also points to the fact that he is an INFP, and he's somehow trying to compensate for his inferior TE through all these actions. I wonder why he doesn't acknowledge his INFP-ness and try to act like an ISTJ. But my country is a quite masculine-oriented country, so an INFP would not be welcome, I guess, or would not feel comfortable in my country. I guess we have an author, Orhan Pamuk, who won a Nobel Prize and has left Turkey and is now living in the United States, and working as a professor at some university, I guess, in literature department, I believe. So I think he's also an INFP, but my father doesn't look or act like him at all. So I think I am missing something, but he doesn't look or act like an INTP either. So an introverted, intuitive, could he be an INTJ? But if he was an INTJ, I would find his TE feedback plausible, I guess, because I have an ENTJ friend and I find his TE reasoning very sound and very plausible. I think the same would apply for INTJ. So assuming he is giving TE advices, my father is giving TE advices, or TE kind of reasoning, I think since I find his reasoning unplausible, I think that must be either a tertiary or inferior TE, but tertiary TE would mean an ENFP or ESFP, and he is not an extrovert, so he should either be an ISFP or an INFP, but he is not aggressive. He doesn't seem to have auxiliary SE. He is not into crafts or physical things, physical tasks. So I think we are left with INFP anyway. So that's all. I just wanted to put it out here, and I wonder why. I guess an INFP would partner well with an ENTJ. So, and since my mother's an ESFJ, I think they are both feminine, and someone, I guess, has to be the masculine in a relationship and take care of masculine issues of the relationship. So that's why I guess they cannot get along, because they are both feminine types, my father and my mother. I guess my mother would do better with an ISTP type who would take care of her worries, anxieties. And I think the reason that I am an INFJ is my father, I guess. I think I get the intuitive gene from my father. And I think my mother due to lack of positive FE feedback from my father, I guess my mother turned to me for emotional nourishment, and I guess she developed this auxiliary FE in me so that I could give her positive feedback. I think that's called emotional incest. So because she wasn't felt loved by my father, she tried to compensate for her need of love through pouring her attention onto me. Perhaps if my father had some high amount of TE in him, perhaps I would have turned into an INTJ, I don't know. Even though they share, INFP share SI and NE, and ESFJ also has SI and NE, they cannot get along. I guess for types to be good relationship partners, long-term relationship partners, they need to share the same judging functions, and they also need to have opposite perceiving functions. For instance, like in the case of ENTP and INFJ, they both have FI and TE judging functions common, and their perceiving functions are reversed. ENTP has NE, whereas INFJ has NI, and INFJ has SE, whereas ENTP has SI. I think that means that ENTP would bombard the INFJ with his or her any aggression, let's say, any bombardment of any type of ideas, and INFJ is strong enough to withstand such a bombardment because their N is shielded inside, internalized. NI is internalized intuition, introverted intuition. So it's like some kind of shielding against any, I guess. Whereas INFJ has SE, inferior SE, and ENTP has inferior SI. That means INFJ would be the sexually aggressive one among them, and ENTP through his or her SI would be able to withstand this SE aggression because their sensing function is internalized, shielded from the environment. So that I think that makes a good couple. One of them is mentally aggressive, the other is mentally passive, whereas the other is sexually aggressive, whereas the other is sexually passive. So in case of INFP, I guess INFP would do well with an ENTJ because they would share the same judging functions, TA and FI, and their perceiving functions would be reversed, where ENTJ has SE and NI, whereas INFP has any SI. So they would be able to withstand each other's instincts, instinctive drives, also share the same worldview through their judging ego functions. So that's all, I guess, about relationships, my father, my parents, my mother. Thank you for listening, and bye.